Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. So, not much happening this week. So I'm just going to talk about this last weekend's games. When I looked at it from a rugby championship point of view, the Matt Giteau law, see what I think about it, and if Australia should actually drop it, and if that kind of system would work for them. And yeah, just a quick general chat about what's going on. And if you're watching the show, please hit like in the live feed, and great. And then I'll just talk about the two games that we watched. But what I'm going to do is I've got on here. Normally, guys, I actually get my stats from ESPN. And it just doesn't look like the ESPN site is updating that well. So I'm actually just going to talk about the New Zealand. I've actually got it from Rugby Pass, the stats. But I'm just going to go first things first. Let's talk about the New Zealand-Australia game. So obviously New Zealand secured the Bledisloe Cup. Shocker, 18th year in a row that they've secured the Bledisloe Cup. So, yeah, I don't know when Australia is going to put it off, but yeah, New Zealand won it very, very convincingly, 57-22. Seems like New Zealand really loved that score, 57. I think South Africa's lost twice to New Zealand, 57. I think 57-14 and 57-0, which was an absolute thumping. So, yeah, I did watch the game. 3 of the tries were intercepts, so just goes to show how I just look at that Australian backline and I think, oh, that's so inexperienced. And I just think having a Summer Karevi or someone like that in the midfield, or just someone that's got more than 4 caps in that backline would probably be the way to go. Because yeah, absolutely, it's just the long passes that they were doing, and I could understand why. The rush defense was quite intense, and just to try to do those passes out wide, New Zealand are going to hammer you in 3 intercept tries. It's a show of a backline that's not hitting on all cylinders, that Australian backline. And yeah, I just think they need to bring in someone with a little bit more experience, a little bit of BMT, and they'll be able to handle it. Look, let's be honest. Maybe in a year's time they'll be a lot better, but at the moment you still got to win games. I think still losing games, it's very hard for the psyche of some of these players, and especially these young guys that are coming through. But yeah, I did like that they got New Zealand out wide. They did stretch New Zealand, but yeah, I just think New Zealand are a class above Australia, and I don't see Australia winning the Bledisloe Cup. If the weekend's game was anything to go by, I don't see them winning the Bledisloe Cup for another 18 years. So yeah, let's see how it goes this weekend, and I just hope that they can pull something out of the bag. But I've got some of the stats here. I'm just going to go through the stats. Sorry guys, I don't normally have the Rugby Pass one, so I normally have the ESPN, and I understand how that one works. So I'm just going to go through this. If you looked at the possession, you'd think that if you looked at 57-43 in the favour of Australia, and so yeah, you look at that defenders beating 22 to Australia, 10 to New Zealand, clean breaks 9-7. This is all 145 passes to Australia, 97 to New Zealand. If you looked at the stats, I was watching not off the ball, the breakdown and the New Zealand show. And they were talking about the stats. If you looked at the stats, you would think that the Australian side is the winning side, but no, I just couldn't understand it. Tackles, 138 tackles, 14 missed by New Zealand, 72 tackles and 10 missed tackles by, and that's quite a lot actually. 10 missed tackles only out of 72. That's well over 10%. Let's go look at kicking. It's very interesting. I was watching another show, and they were talking about kicking, and I think South Africa in their game kicked more than New Zealand and Australia combined. So yeah, it just goes to show what kind of side South Africa is. It's a real kicking side. So yeah, it just shows the different styles of play. Breakdown, discipline was a lot better by New Zealand. Only 9 penalties conceded compared to the 19 the week before. And I think that's pretty much in line with in New Zealand, the way them improving on it. I did see that they were playing their loose forwards out quite wide. They've started breaking down the pod system a little bit, which is interesting because I think New Zealand play a 3-2-2 system, and which is fairly interesting. But yeah, they were just using the pods a little bit differently to normal. And yeah, I just think that they've got just so much attacking power out back that, just a little bit of stretch, just a sniff of a mistake or anything, and they're going to pounce. Player stats. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk about some of the players. There's a lot of talk out there that people are really unsure about New Zealand at the moment under Ian Foster, and I was one of those people. I did believe that, but I think things are slowly starting to gel. I just look at some of the centre pairing. David Havili and Ricky Ioane. I just think it's one area that I'm a little bit concerned about because there's just too much chopping and changing. I'm not saying that the players aren't great. I think the players are magnificent. They have just got so much skill, but it's just the centre pairing needs to be a pairing. And if I look at hey David, fingers crossed we get a 100th test between the Boks and the Avies. Fingers crossed. We don't know where it's going to be, David. If it's going to be in, they say it was going to be at Forsyth Bar. And that would have been amazing because obviously the first test was between Springboks and New Zealand was at Carisbrook, the House of Pain, and that would have been pity Carisbrook's gone. Carisbrook was in Christchurch, wasn't it? I could be wrong. I've never been to New Zealand, so I don't know. And it would have been really nice. It would have been like a full circle playing, and you could just imagine. I think they had sold the tickets out in like couple of hours for that game, so it would have been magnificent. And then they went and moved the game to Perth, and now Perth's under lockdown. And I can't remember if they were saying that when the All Blacks leave now, when they leave New Zealand, I think they're going to be away for 15 weeks. I think I could be wrong, but I think it's about that long. So, but yeah, let's hope. I'm sure it'd be played somewhere. It just would have been nice to have been played in New Zealand. It just would have been. Because it actually has been quite nice that we haven't played the All Blacks for so long that it actually makes it quite exciting, because I do think both teams, the Springboks and the All Blacks, are on a bit of a raw, completely different styles. Let's be completely honest. And I think that's the one thing I've always loved about New Zealand, the Springbok games, because it's complete polar opposite teams. Like literally complete polar opposite. We've got an extreme attacking team with the All Blacks have got skills for days. Their players have got skills, and then you've got the Springboks, which are very, very set piece orientated, very, very kicking orientated, scoreboard pressure orientated, and it's just completely different. It was amazing. I was watching Nick Mallett, and he was saying that, when New Zealand beat a team, and even the Springboks, when they beat them convincingly, with a lot of points. The Springboks don't beat teams like that with a lot of points because we just don't play that kind of rugby where we have lots of points. But if I look at the backline but let's get back to the backline of the ABs. I've always liked David Havili. I don't know. I just think it's just too much chopping and changing. I think it's an opportunity that they can chop and change. They do have the skills, but we just need a centre pairing. We really do. I just think the All Blacks need it. Richie Monga's really getting into his role at first five, and I really want to see, but I want to see him playing, serious defence. Like the Springbok serious press defence, and just see hey, 11 just said welcome. I really want to see how he plays up against that because I agree. I really like Havili, but there's just I don't know if he's an Anton Leonard-Brown. That's my biggest thing, and so that's where I see. And if I look at the really good, I know that David Avili played 12, but if you look at the really good centres out there, Lukhanyo Arm at 13. Who's the guy who plays for Wales? Oh no, Ireland. Oh, he'll come to me. And so there's some seriously good centres out there, and there's some centre pairings that are growing, and I really want to see them come up with their first team centre pairing. The other concern that I have is their props. Look, I know George Bower, he came in at last minute, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if the drop-off from Ofatunga Fassi and Henshaw, that's it, David, thanks a lot, between Joe Moody and Ofatunga Fassi, I think the drop-off from there is just, it's like a chasm. And I don't know. I really, really don't know. I just think, I like Cody. What do you think of Quintupea? It's from Australia. The young kid. 11 just said. I'll be completely honest, guys. I'm so far removed from what's happening in Australian rugby, and I'm just as far removed in New Zealand rugby, and it's quite sad from New Zealand. What I'll do is I will actually. You'll probably be playing. It wasn't Martic, or you'll be playing somewhere. I'll have a look out for him. Lemon just said, and I will actually comment on him next week when I know a little bit more. So I'm going to be completely honest, and that's the one thing. And I know it's COVID and lots of things have happened, but I used to know more about Australian and New Zealand players than anything else, because we played them all the time. You know, we played all these Super Rugby sides, and now playing against Tonga, I think he looks good. I'll have a look out for him. What I'll do is, Lemon just said, I'll take down his name and I'll actually go look for some YouTube clips, and then I'll comment on next week. So yeah, I feel like I'm deprived because I don't have Super Rugby anymore. And I mean, I'm not Aotearoa, and I'm not talking New Zealand one, and I'm not talking South African Super Rugby, because yeah, I just think, you know, for all its flaws, Super Rugby's flaws, I just think when Super Rugby was pumping, when, you know, in its heyday, you know, the early 2000s, you know, that area, the 2000 to 20, you know, when it was still Super 14 or something, I just think the rugby was magnificent. And so yeah, let's see what happens. But yeah, coming back to New Zealand, I think there's an issue at props. I really do think there's an issue somewhere, and I just think when they come up against a really good set piece team like England, South Africa, I'd like to see how the props are going to do. Hey Fleshin, welcome to the show. And but yeah, what I want to see is Richie Mo'unga. Hey, guys under pressure. I like Dalton Papali. I liked him even when he played for New Zealand or short-term props, locks, loosies, centres. Any starters get injured. David, I think the beauty of New Zealand rugby is you have players that can step in, and they have this evening. Stefano 86, welcome. New Zealand rugby, there's just such a high skill base, and a lot of players can fit in a lot of roles. And when you're not playing against, let's be honest, you're playing against Australia that are very, very young. A big shame, no more Super Rugby. I really enjoyed watching the New Zealand and Oz teams. Miss South African teams playing there. I miss them too. And I think, so the South African franchises, the Durban and the Sharks and the Bulls have started figuring it out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, with COVID, lots of things have changed. Coming back to the locks, I think their first, any of their first positions are sussed. But I look, let's take the South African back line. I'm going to compare it to South Africa because I know that's what I know about South Africa. So how detrimental to South Africa do you think playing the Rainbow Cup will be, if at all? I don't think it's going to be detrimental to SA Rugby. I do think it's going to be positive. but I'll come back to that because I actually I do have an answer for that, and I have thought about it a little bit. If we look at the South African backline, and you know what the first, you know exactly what your first positions are. You know exactly what it is. It's Faf de Klerk, Handré Pollard, Makazole Mpimpi, Damon Delende, Lukhanyo Arm, Cheslin Colby, and Willie Leroux. You know that's your A side. There's no other A side that you can think of. Whereas if you start thinking of New Zealand, you're not unsure about the centre pairing. I think their wings are great. DMAC has been playing really well, but it's just there just seems to be a little bit of a flaw in the middle. So yeah, that's my only gripe. I love Super Rugby and miss SA teams in it, but God, I can't wait to see them play in the URC. Now it's a great time to answer that question, Fleshen. I think the Champions Cup is going, the Rainbow Cup or whatever it's going to be called. I think it's going to be good for South African rugby. I think if you look at because we get an opportunity to play in the Heineken Cup from 21-22, and I think that's when we are going to be literally you're playing against the best players in the world. You know, those top 14 sides that come through with Toulouse, and you know they're coming with world-class players, absolutely world-class players. The Premiership also there's just these great players that are there, and you get to play with these players day in and day out. Whereas with Super Rugby, you never really got talent from around the world. Let's be honest. In South Africa, there's only South Africans playing. In New Zealand, only New Zealanders playing. In Australia, there's only Australians playing, because we've got to try to fill up those pools. Whereas up north, they filled up with absolute superstars, players that can change a game. You know, if you look at Toulouse, I think it's Toulouse. You got Cheslin Colby, you got Jerome Kaino, probably the best six that's ever lived, in my opinion. So from that point of view, I think it's going to be great, and I think the Rainbow Cup. I think it's going to take a while for the South African sides to be competitive. I really do. I do think I'd say the blip against the Bulls playing Benetton, I think it was just a blip. I do think they're the team to watch in South Africa. I think this, David, I'm not a Stormers fan, but I do have a Stormers hat, so I do wear it from time to time. But I think the Bulls and the Sharks are going to do really well, guys. I think the Sharks have a magnificent backline. They have probably one of the most exciting players, Apelele Fassi, who's literally predicted, guys, he will be World Player of the Year one in his life, or he'll be very, very close. You'll just watch that guy. He's absolutely special. The Bulls are building something. Super Rugby's all-out attack in Northern Hemisphere is mainly different. So SA learning both sides of playing is going to make the Bokkers even stronger. I really do think it's so. If you look at how the Northern Hemisphere play, it actually fits in with the way that South Africa plays. Let's be honest. It's set-piece driven. It's kicking game. It's about penalties, scoreboard pressure. Tick, 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 tick. And we fortunate that we actually have some very, very extremely exciting backs as well coming through. But coming back to the Bulls, currently the Bulls are, I think the Johan Goosen that's coming through from the Bulls, their 10 is almost close to world class. Dwayne Vermeulen, hopefully he will be captain. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's pretty hard for him because his family lives in Cape. In your view, what's the DNA of each South African franchise? In my view, that's a big question. In my view, I think probably the most well-rounded side. This would be completely honest. The most well-rounded side is probably the Sharks. They generally play. They normally have really good forwards. They have really good, well-rounded backs. I think the Lions play if you thought the Cheetahs played loose and wild, guys, wait till you see the Lions. These guys play. If they got Elton Yankees, if he's still there, their DNA is very, very. They'll run from their own try line, and that's the kind of DNA they had under Jan Ackerman. They've gone off the boil for the last couple of years. The Bulls play pressure rugby. Once they put their foot in the neck, that's it. They squash and squash and squash and squash and squash until the life. It's the way that I'll remember the coach's name, but that they play pressure rugby. The Stormers should be, I'll be honest, it should have been the Bulls and the Stormers that were probably the sides that would have done the best in Europe. But the Stormers, they've got a lot of backroom issues, but they normally have an extremely good pack of forwards, some really good backs, and I think they're probably the fairly traditional. But yeah, I just think the Stormers should be the other side. It traditionally was always the Bulls and the Stormers that are the strong sides. But yeah, I just think the Sharks have the money, and the Bulls the Bulls have got some serious money behind them. And but yeah, I think the Bulls. Let's see which teams they'll probably find it difficult against. Munster probably play fairly close to a South African side, probably because of their South African coach and the amount of South African players with them. If I look at, I think Leinster's going. That's the nice thing, we get to play Leinster. I think always the big debate is who'd win between Leinster and the Crusaders. Sure, I think it'd be a tough game, but I think if you played 10 games in a row, I think the Crusaders would win 7 of them. David, well, I hope so. I think the South Africans have got a bit of a harsh thing at the moment because all of the games have to be played away. But yeah, this is reality. You just got to grin and bear it. And if we want to play rugby and we want to play it overseas, then that's what we have to do. But yeah, I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be the big games. Guys, let's be honest. It's not going to be for the first year. It's not going to be for the second year. Maybe in the third, maybe the fourth year, the South African sides will start playing. But we'll have all the pundits out there after the first game coming up with all these theories on if we play badly, that we're bringing down the quality of the rugby. Everything's a process, I also think once the borders are open, that the Northern Hemisphere, that the Pro 14 sides will actually learn a hell of a lot by playing on South African fields. The beauty of playing up in Johannesburg, yes, the altitude can be a real issue, but you get to play on fast, hard surfaces. It's not slow. It's a high tempo game, and I think that's what the Northern Hemisphere sides will actually get from playing in the Southern Hemisphere, because it'll be summer, it'll be a lot hotter, it'll be a lot faster, the ball travels a lot quicker, it travels further. From a South African point of view, we'll get to play up north. It'd be a lot more tactical, a lot more wet weather, which we're not really used to. So I'm going to be positive about it. I'm going to buy my jersey. I'm going to do everything great for it, and I'll support it just as much as I supported Super Rugby, and I loved Super Rugby. So you can imagine I'm really going to put my all into it and try to be positive about it. Can't wait to see what take on Leinster boys. Can't believe we will get to see it. I just, come on guys, I just think let's just be excited about it. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to be excited about it, and I'm looking forward to it. I was going to talk about the South African game quickly. I thought it was a bit of a risk changing 10 players, but it seemed to work. I just don't think. I don't know what Argentina just did not look like the side that beat the All Blacks last year. I know they lost all the other games, but Oh, sorry, my hair's getting thin there, man. Guys, jeez, I'm going to have to do a comb over here quickly. Let me just do my comb over. There we go. Now it doesn't look too bad. But Leinster playing in Durban in summer. You guys, I used to live in Durban, and I used to work for a Finnish company in Durban, and we used to work in the paper industry. And the guys used to arrive. They used to fly out from Finland. And I think it was like minus 20 in Finland, and they'd arrive in Richards Bay. Now, Richards Bay in Durban is like hot. Still have more head than me, so I think Stefan 86. And they used to arrive in Durban, and Durban, when it's 30 degrees in Durban, you're suffering. And they used to arrive in Richards Bay, and it'd be like 38, 39 degrees Celsius with 100% humidity, and they'd arrive from minus 20. So these guys used to absolutely suffer. Trust me, you don't want to be in Durban January, February, March. It's a hard place to. It's just the. But I think that's what's going to be the beauty of. We're just going to have everything. We'll have fast fields, slow fields. We'll have fields that are hard to play in Connacht, which just is like every game I've watched in Connacht, I've thought, geez, I never want to live there. That just looks like the windiest, rainiest place in the whole world. And so yeah, there's a huge big difference. Whereas I think Super Rugby was very, very attack based, and I think the United Champions Cup, I think it's going to be a little bit more rounded. But yeah, let's see. There's still the writings on the wall, but let's be positive about it. But let's come back to the Springboks. I think the Springboks are going to probably bring out their A side this week. Did you see that Apalele Fasi's trial? Wonderful. They replaced the Cape Town Stadium turf. Hopefully, you know, David, there's a nicer stadium in I think people don't realize how cold it gets in SA. So maybe the rain and wind aside, the temperature should be a bother. It does get hell of a cold here, Fleshen. I live in the Cape Province, and I was wearing a snow jacket the other day, and it was snowing on a couple of the mountains around us. So yeah, it does get kind of cold here. But yeah, the Springboks, they did their job. I don't think they're the finished article just yet. I think there's still a lot that's happening, but they seem to. It's amazing. It seemed like they played a hell of a lot more than what they played against the Lions, and they still kicked over 40 times. So yeah, it's different strokes for different folks, I suppose. You know. So let's see how it goes this weekend. I don't think the All Blacks are playing this weekend. Let me just check here, guys. I just want to check here who's playing. Like I said, normally I have ESPN open, and I don't seem to have ESPN. They just don't seem to be updating their site. Let me look here. That would be. Sorry, guys, it's just taking forever. So this weekend, I see probably most of the same thing. I think they're going to come up with the A side because I think they believe that the Argentinians are going to come out really hard, and I think the South Africans need it. Let me just say next year it would be Saturday the 21st, if I'm not mistaken. Hey guys, Saturday the 21st. It's just South Africa playing Argentina, so that's the only game that's happening this weekend. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a much harder game. I think Argentina are going to come out with a lot more. They've got another game under their belt. Fleshen, I never count out the Argentinians. That's my motto in life. They've got a way of when, very similar to the South Africans, when the South Africans are under the pump and everyone's written them off, and that's when they play their best. And I think the Argentinians can be the same. I think the way to beat Argentina is scoreboard pressure, is to keep on applying on the pressure, more pressure, and then eventually the dam will break. And I think that's the way to play it. I think you have to have scrum dominance. You have to have forward dominance. You have to be going forward. And yeah, let's see. I don't think the team sheets have been released, but I could maybe I get lucky and let's have a look here. Nah, it doesn't look like it's been released. Well, it's been released, but I don't have it quick at hand. So yeah, not much happening out in the world there. There was one little thing. I don't know, maybe it's just clickbait and stuff like that, but obviously World Rugby are going to come out hard against Rassie Erasmus. And obviously they were saying that, they could take away the second victory of the Springboks against the Lions. I doubt that would happen. If that happened, I don't know if I'd watch rugby for much longer after that. It really would not be great, because at the end of the day, it was the coaches. The coach did it, not South Africa and not the South African players. And to win, to take a Lions victory away like that would leave a really bitter pill in my mouth. I do think they're going to fine them heavily, and I think it's probably going to be well over £50,000 fine, and there'll probably be a match ban as well. So I think they have to come out hard. I do think it's an opportunity to actually start talking about the issues that we're having with the reffing. It's not that I've got an issue with the refs. I think they'll just fine. I do think they'll ban them from a few matches. I really do think they will do that, and a fine. Not that it'll happen. I'm sure the Lions wouldn't like it. I just don't. It would. I would. Flish, I literally would. I would watch Curry Cup for the rest of my life. Well, I say that, but I'd probably I'd probably start watching again. But I'll be all like, no, I'm not going to watch. That's it. Finished. But we'll see what happens. But I just think it'll be a big fine. And honestly, I think he does need to be fined, and I do think he needs to have a match ban. That's my honest opinion. But at the same time, I do think what he said made absolute sense, and I do think there needs to be a conversation about it, because I think some of our laws are quite complicated. Like, imagine Bryce Lawrence put a masterclass in reffing in the SA and Argentina game. Others could learn from him. That's funny. So I look at the laws that we have, and especially around the breakdown. Imagine you've got one of your cousins that come out from America or wherever, South America. They've never seen the game of rugby, and try explain the breakdown to them. Just literally try explain why when a prop goes down in a scrum, there's a penalty, and when it looks like both have gone down. Just try explain it. Try explain those little nuances that happen in the game that we look at. The offside line, try explain that. Try explain why you feet on the keep supporting your own body weight at the break. The breakdown is it's such a difficult. There's just so many moving parts, and if we could simplify how the breakdown works, don't ask me how. I don't want to destroy the spirit of the game, but I think we need to figure out how to simplify those real complex issues. So simplify how the scrums work, simplify how like it used to be in the scrums. We were watching, as I was watching a few shows with Osterrand, and it used to be, the scrums, they used to stand like this, and they just used to go in, like literally no pause, touch, whatever, and they just used to go straight in. And it seemed like, and I know they stopped it because they were thinking of player safety, but it actually seemed like it was a lot more stable, because you had to be, because you were taking contact. You were actually contact, force on force, and it just seemed like, because you had to be like that, means your feet were under your hips more, means you were actually sitting a little bit higher, so you couldn't collapse. And those little things, by slowing it down to such a point where it's like this, where it's touch, pause, engage, touch this, hitting each other, then you've got to wait for the ball to come in. I just think if we made it more of a contest, like literally you have to throw the ball in the middle, you can go back to tight heads, it's a little bit more dynamic, means you could, if it collapses, you'll know instantly. It's an instant penalty. There's no free kick and there's no resets or anything like that, because that's the problem. It's the resets, and we sit there waiting. Whereas if we figured out a way of just speeding it up within player safety and speeding it up and bringing back what was there, because what was there was working. It used to be a lot more stable platform, and now it just seems like it's not. And then the breakdown rules. I was reading up the laws on the breakdown, and it was quite interesting. I was just trying to read up about the one. I was trying to find it again, and it was about your shoulders having to be higher than your hips when you're going into the ruck. And I was thinking about it, and I couldn't remember where I read it. Maybe I read it wrong, guys. But it just makes more sense that if they're a little bit more vertical, it means there's a lot more open space. So Rassie has said to President it's going to be hard to ignore by other coaches, especially as more pressure is put on coaches. What if Foster loses a dodgy game? I was watching a show today, and they were talking exactly about that same thing, that it may have changed it for life, and that's why I think they're going to come down seriously hard. They're going to come down with some serious fines. Maybe Ian Foster's going, well, to get my 2-year extension, I don't mind paying a £50,000 or £70,000 fine, because he doesn't really pay it. It gets paid by New Zealand Rugby. So, I just let's see what happens. But I do think the conversation we should be having is how do not only do we speed up the game so we have more in-game time, and how do we simplify the rules without losing the spirit of the game. But if in TSG, you've arrived and I'm just about to go, where we can simplify the rules of the game, where we can make it faster, and it makes the officiating of the game a little bit easier. And then also maybe changing how the TMO works, because currently it's just too broad. I think the TMO should only be there for foul play, because it's a given foul play, and is only there to others to support the on-field decision. So the ref in the middle has to make a decision. So he either thinks it's a try or not a try, and that's it. No other. There is no other. Could you tell me if that's a try? Could you tell me this? Could you tell me if the foot's out? The decision gets made. He says the foot is out, and I need compelling evidence, and that's it. I think that's the way to change how the TMO works, because then the TMO is not there to ref the ref. The TMO is there to support the ref, and that's all they're there to do. Do you hear the lines might be overturned? If in TSG, I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, sure. It would. If they did that, that would be against the spirit of the game more than what Rassie did in the spirit of the game. Because in my opinion, really in my opinion, actually, that would be just a little bit too harsh. But guys, I've gone 8 minutes over. I didn't think there was much to talk about, and there's always more than 30 minutes to talk about. Coaches always complain about the referees. So do fans and players, etc. Hope Rassie gets a fine at most. I don't think he did anything wrong. Definitely hope they don't take Lions series away from us. Lemon just said, I hope so too. I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. If it did, it would. It would leave a bitter pill in everyone's mouth, I reckon. But guys, for a week where I thought there wasn't a lot going on, there was a lot to talk about. But guys, I really hope that you guys stay safe. There's lots of countries are going back into lockdown, and there's lots of issues happening around the world. I just hope that you guys stay safe. Regardless of what you believe or don't believe, just try to respect everyone around you, and just respect everyone, and just stay safe. Really just stay safe and take care of yourselves. But listen, guys, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week. I think next week we'll be talking about the game, and I think we'll be talking about Rusty's final. But listen, guys, chat soon. Cheers. Bye.